Tere, tere tulemast PÖFF TV. Here we are introducing one of the movies in competition in Rebels with a Cause in this Tallinn Black Nights 2025. And we are going with a really special movie which reminds us that there is a war in the middle of Europe, and remind us that not only there is a war, but it's lasting time enough for already leaving traces that gonna last in the life of people for a long time. And that movie, it's won a special position in Rebels with a Cause for many reasons, and the title is Leleka. We are lucky to have the director with us, and also one of the producers, Tere tulemas PÖFF. Welcome to Tallinn Black Nights, welcome to Estonia. And I mean, many people is asking like about the meaning of the title, not the word itself, but also, if we translate it, what is the meaning that gives some sensitivity extra to the movie, to say.
Yeah, well, I guess, once you watch the film, you will understand the full meaning of the title, because the lead actress, the lead character, gives an explanation of what the title means. In a nutshell, Leleka is the Ukrainian word for stork. And from what I understand and from what I was told by the lead actress, is that the stork is an important national symbol for Ukrainians, and that there's many connotations about home, about longing for home. And so when, during the road trip, we were, driving across sort of, the different countries of Europe, the lead actress told us about the importance of the stork. And then I said, well, we should shoot a scene that sort of brings that to the forefront. And then as we were editing the film and sort of thinking about sort of what could be a good title, Leleka sort of became sort of the obvious name for the film, basically. Because initially there was a very different title to the film.
Oh, wow. Which was the working title?
So the working title was actually based on a Ukrainian poem called Dancing in Odessa.
Okay.
And the initial idea was to go to Odessa, but then as the project evolved, we sort of realized that the film was something else, basically.
Yeah, well, Leleka is quite poetic anyway.
Yeah.
So and it gives a lot of sense, as you just say, to what we're gonna see in the screen. And well, you already quote the main actress, which is, while the movie is not a documentary, she's kind of interpreting herself as an artist. But I've been told that the movie is actually coming from different voices of different artists, all Ukrainian, like they're telling what is the situation or how they feel, what are their feelings, no?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I can speak a little bit about the genesis of the project. So initially, I started meeting all of these Ukrainians that were refugees in Paris since the beginning of the war. And then I was put in touch with Olga, and then through Olga, I was given a deeply personal account of, her experience, but also other Ukrainians and their experiences of sort of living in exile and, having left but not having wanted to leave. And so I was taking notes of all of these stories that were being shared. And, sometimes they were just very simple anecdotes. Sometimes they were more complex and troubling stories. And then as I was taking notes, I sort of saw a film emerge out of these different sort of voices and experiences that had been shared with me. And so we brought these different stories together, Olga and I, so the lead actress. And then we sort of decided that this was a good starting point for a film. And then initially I was speaking to Olga, I was like, well, should this be a documentary? As in, do you want to be sharing your personal experience? And then she thought that it was a lot more interesting to be sharing many different experiences and to build a character outside, out of these different experiences. And so she's playing both herself and not herself. So some of the stories that are shared in the film come from her, but a lot of the other stories are from friends of hers or relatives or other stories that she was told or other stories that I was told. And so we brought all of these stories together to create this hybrid documentary fiction film.
So she's representing her folks, so to say.
Yeah, so she's representing Ukrainians living in exile in the large sense of the word.
Yeah, actually, this is like one of the next topics I want to tackle, because we've seen in these last 2-3 years, even in the last 10 years, because the conflict is coming from afar. Many movies coming from Ukrainians themselves, but we are now in a wave that people like from you are originally from Austria, and we're having this humble but still international co-production with the movie. So how do you feel about like portraying a reality which is not initially yours, but you want to transmit it to the world? I'm asking you both as a filmmaker and producer.
Yeah, so I guess I can start by answering. I mean, I guess for me, I feel like everybody's concerned by the war in Ukraine. So I'm a European, I live in Paris, and I think this is something that is affecting the whole world, not just Ukraine and Ukrainians. And this was brought to the forefront by meeting Ukrainians who were living in Paris. And so I felt, well, it's my duty to sort of think about what it means to be at war, what it thinks to be a refugee. And so, you know, I never had any intention of making a film that was strictly about the war, because this is not my story to tell. I don't live in Ukraine, I don't come from Ukraine, and there's plenty of amazing films that are being made by Ukrainians who are sharing their experience of the front line. What I do have experience about is, you know, living in exile, so through the meeting of these Ukrainians living in Paris. And so I thought, well, there's an interesting story to tell there, you know, because of course there's the soldiers fighting on the front, there's the people living in the cities and with the curfews and that anxiety, but then there's also all of these other people that are sort of longing to go home, that are longing to sort of be with their people, but can't. And so I thought, well, this is an interesting story, and I think I can bring something to the conversation, basically. So this was my sort of perspective, and me sort of wanting to bring to the forefront the importance that this war is affecting all of us, and that we all need to be thinking about it in a more globalized way, not just that small region of Europe.
Yeah, and I think this reflected quite well on the production side too. Our entire crew was coming from like 8 different countries. We have someone from Japan, someone from Belgium, someone from Poland, and then someone from the US. Alex, our director of photography, is from the UK.
And the movie is quoted as Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of the money came from Canada, so the reality is that initially some of the money came from France and then a bit from the US. But then as you know, for post-production, we applied for some funding in Canada, and the Canada Council gave us an extremely generous grant that allowed us to finish the film in a professional way, because we were at a point where we had run out of money and we needed to finish post-production. And so actually, in terms of how much money was given, Canada is the majority shareholder. But that only came towards the end of the film. And then we also had a bit of money from Spain as well, through the scheme of La Alternativa that gave us a post-production grant, so we were able to do the sound mix over there. So basically, the money's coming from all over the place.
So like everyone's representing the voice that I think they also supported in this film, and then supported in this topic in their own ways. So I found quite...
It's like a pan-European...
International,
international,
it's an international
like
co-production
to just share what is situation and inner feelings of certain people. No, like in this way, it's also interesting that it's a road movie. I mean, please, none of you thinking like Thelma and Louise and things like that. There are 2 girls in a car, but it's another story. We are rebels, but not that much, you know, or not in that unrespectful way. And obviously the roads, the way they're following, it's another character thing, and the way it's represented in the framing, which is quite, and also the texture of the images. So which it compound a really, don't want to say poetic, but almost oniric postcard of what is going through Europe. It's like the road is part of her feelings and their thoughts while they are driving. So, which was the artistic background of the idea behind like the framing, the texture, the 60 millimeters, which is like breathing everywhere.
So, I mean, I think right from the get-go, it was very clear to me that it would be a journey across Europe, but actually that it would be a journey inside the main character. And so we are using the landscapes, and so we sort of filmed in 7 different countries. And as we are going through those countries, we're not, as a viewer, necessarily aware, oh, we're in Germany now, we're in Austria now, we're in Slovakia. You know, occasionally we'll hint at a location, but really what's happening, the landscape is a way for us to explore the inner landscape of the main character. And so we are traveling that landscape through the, you know, performance of Olga, who's interpreting these different stories and sharing, you know, her experience of exile. And so in that sense, it's a road movie, and a lot of road movies have an existential background, but this was definitely sort of the main sort of starting point to think about the film. And quite quickly, sort of my director of photography, Alexander Neville, with who I've been working for 15 years now, when I started to speak to him about the film and, you know, thinking about the themes and thinking about what needed to, you know, to come through the images, it was quite clear that it had to be analog film. Because of the nature of the project, we did sort of think about shooting on 35 millimeter, but we couldn't afford it. Mm-hmm. And so we went to 16 mil, and then there was a bit of hesitation between color and black and white. And then we eventually chose black and white for two reasons. So one of the reasons was practical, because it's a lot easier to shoot black and white with natural light. So we were shooting exclusively with natural lighting, no artificial lighting. And so we thought, okay, well, that will simplify some of his job, because it was
and your producer was happy with that?
I'm sure the producer was happy. He was very supportive. He was like, yeah, sure, I think this is a great... He was not sure about the black and white, because from a marketing perspective, it's a little bit harder to sell a film that is in black and white. But I thought that, well, yes, but it will give so much more to the viewer and to the spectator, and we'll get something that's a lot more relevant and that is closer to the emotions that we're trying to sort of bring out from the character. And so black and white felt like the natural choice. Shooting on 16 mil did have some setbacks, because it's extremely grainy, and, you know, we were sort of limited in terms of what we could do and where we could shoot as well. But sort of those constraints forced us to be more creative and to be more precise with the framing of the film. And I think Alexander did a phenomenal job in sort of like really capturing, you know, those landscapes and sort of bringing out, you know, the inner feelings of the character.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable, and sometimes it's like even some sort of structuralism in the way he shows or you show the roads.
Yeah.
Like a little open labyrinth somehow, like defining the reality of Europe, of history of Europe. So like, we're becoming, we're going to that layer of poetry and meaning and metaphor through this kind of oniric, dreamy travel.
And we do have a little bit of color, though.
That's it. That you know. Okay, Aita. No. Like, I was about to say, Well, actually, that's nice, but let's leave the audience to discover that. So thank you guys for being here. Suraita, for letting us introduce your movie to the world. I'm convinced it's gonna travel as much as the two young women are traveling through Europe. And you have a little like this one to discover. There is some color in this black and white. Let's see. But it's really enjoyable journey that you're gonna take together with these two young women through Europe, through the feelings, through the current situation in Europe, and it's like a trip on poetry. And there's still some tickets to catch. You know, it's not that usual, that in Rebels with a Cause. So I challenge you to go and discover what is in Leleka. So thank you. Now take a film.
Thank you, Javier, for having us. Thanks all, and hope to see some of you at the screening. Come say hi.